Hello there everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to make this braided macrame bracelet, and this is what mine looks like here. So it's a macrame technique that we're using, making knots all the way, but then because of how we're making it, you get this effect of it being a 3-strand braid. That's then intertwining there, and then I've also just added these beads on the sides just to add a bit of more embellishment to it. So these are then the materials that we're going to be using. First of all, here I have the cord. This is about a 0.8mm nylon cord that I'm using, and it's a nice purple colour. But you can really use whatever cord that you want to. Different cords will just give different results. And then I'm also going to be adding in these beads here. So these are 2mm copper metal spacer beads. So you can use these, you could use seed beads or whatever you want to. But just something that will add a bit of extra. But you don't have to use the beads, you can also just choose to only use the cord. But then to finish off the piece, I'm going to use these 20mm ribbon ends, also in copper, to match with the beads. And then obviously using the holes in them, I'm going to attach my clasps, so lobster claw clasp, extended chain, and then my jump rings as well. So let's get it all together and let's get started. And then we need some lengths of our cord. So what I have here, first of all, is 3 lengths of about 2 meters each. And these are going to be the main working cords, hence why they're so long. And then we'll need 6 lengths of the same cord here, of about 75 centimeters each, and these are going to mainly be the holding cords, so hence why they're shorter than the other ones. And then I just also took a short length of the same cord again, just about maybe 20 centimeters or so, to attach to my board. This is just to start out with. So I've attached this onto my project macrame board that I'll be working on using these T-pins. It's going to make the project a lot easier. So I'm then going to be attaching all the other lengths of cord that I've already cut off onto this length that's on my board. So I'm just going to show you how to do that. I take towards one end here, just leaving a short tail, put it underneath the holding cord that's on the board already, and just put a little bit of a tail up so there's something to hold on to. And then I take the long end here, back over the top, and then lift up and back underneath, and then pull it up through the loop here. Tighten that. And then I do the same thing again, so I'll bring it over the top, back underneath, and up through the loop. And that attaches this one. Once we tighten this, it's going to sit nicely attached to that holding cord. So you just attach all the cords like this, but I'll come back and then show you the order that I've attached them in. So now I have them all attached here, and the order that I put them in is, first of all, further to the left, these two are short, and then I have one long one, and then the next 2 are short again, and then a long one, and then the final 3 here, the first one out of them, so the next one is also a long one, and the last 2 are short as well. So that's just the order I put them in to kind of fit with the pattern that we're going to be doing. So now we need to start making the macrame. So first I just want to make some rows of knots here. So I'm just going to start with my furthest left cord. Just make sure it's nice and tight on there. Then I'm going to bring it over towards the right. That's just what I'm doing. You can start at the other side, it doesn't matter. And then we need to make a row of knots underneath the row that we have here from where we attached them all. So I'm bringing that over, and all the others that are coming underneath are now going to be the working cords. So the first one that's coming underneath, I'm going to take around my finger, so over the top of the cord, and back underneath the holding cord, and through the loop. So it looks like that. So you kind of have a 6 there, and it's looping around the holding cord. Then as I tighten this, I want to make sure I push the holding cord upwards a little bit, so this row becomes nice and tight underneath the previous one. And then do another one around your finger and back through the loop, and tighten that up. So that's now a double half hitch. So that's that cord. Put it out to the side, grab the very next one. Always make sure you grab the very next cord. Do the exact same thing around your finger and through the loop, and then tighten that. And once more for a double again, and then tighten that. And we just work our way all the way, just like this, all to the other side. So then once we're at the end here, what I want to do is just make another row and also get this cord back to its original position. So I'm just going to bring it back over towards the opposite side now, and then again just over all the other ones. And we're basically just going to repeat now, except our hands have now swapped jobs. So I'm going to take the very first working cord that's coming underneath, and then again do a double half hitch, just now using the other hand, and then tighten that. So it's everything we're doing now is the same that we just did, we're just working in the opposite direction. and again taking one cord at a time, making a double half hitch to then reach the other end. So now I reach all the way back to the other side again, and because I have a bit more work done, I can just put some more pins in here to help keep it fastened so it's not going to be moving around too much. Again, makes it much easier to work with. So I like to put my pins through in between the rows, so not through an actual row. Just find it works better for the cord so we don't damage it. So now for the next step here, what I then want to just do is to separate my cords out. So I'm just going to take the 3 furthest towards the left, just out to the side for now, because I'm going to start with these other ones. And again, I'm also going to separate them because we're basically going to be working in groups, and each group is going to have 3 lengths of cord, 2 short ones, which are going to be the main holding cords, and then 1 long one that's going to do most of the macrame work really. So I have these 2 groups next to each other, and I'm going to be starting with them, but we are going to work on one at a time and then swap back and forth. So I'm just going to start with one of them. It doesn't matter which one you start with. I'm just going to take the left one out of these 2, and then the first 2 towards the left are the 2 holding cords, and then this one here is the long one. So what I'm going to do is take this furthest right one underneath the middle one out of the 3, and then we need to start making some more knots. But now the rows that we're going to be making are going to be coming more straight down rather than across to the sides like these ones. But then this is coming underneath, so that means that's the working cord. I'm going to take that around my finger, so over the top of the cord, and back underneath and through the loop, and pull it all the way through. And then again it looks like this, looping around the holding cord. And now I'm going to hold the holding cord straight downwards as I'm tightening this, because we want the row to go that direction. And then once more to make it a double half hitch, and tighten that as well. Push it all the way up as we tighten that. So that's the first one. Then I'm going to take my working cord here underneath the next holding cord, so just lift it up and bring it under. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing, so make a double half hitch around this one and then tighten that, and then you'll be able to see that this knot then sits right next to the other one, or below depending how you look at it, just like that. So we now have basically 2 rows right next to each other started out. So then we need to swap direction again, so I'm going to bring my working cord back underneath the same holding cord, and then we're going to do the same thing, but again we've just swapped hands now. So I take the working cord around my finger and through the loop, and then we have it looping around the cord again, but just in the opposite direction. And as I'm tightening this, again hold the holding cord straight down, because we're just continuing the row, and do another one for a double half hitch, just like that. And then bring the working cord underneath the next holding cord, so back to the very first one we started with, and continue that one. So bring it around your finger and through the loop and tighten that. And then instead of just continuing now, what I'm going to do is bring this straight underneath again. So we've only done half of the knot, and then I bring it straight underneath in the opposite direction and swap hands again, and then do the other one. So around your finger through the loop, basically the other half, but we're just doing it straight away in the opposite direction, just like that. And now bring it underneath the second holding cord again and make another double half hitch, a full one. Tighten that, and there we go. So having done that little trick, you could call it there, where we don't do a full double half hitch in the same direction, but we swap direction during the knot, that just puts a little bit of a bend or curve into this row, and that's what we want. So that's the beginning of this group here. So I'm just going to put this to the side for now, because we then need to move over to the other one. So that's the furthest right one here, and basically we need to do the exact same thing, but obviously the cords are just laying a bit differently. So now it's the furthest 2 right ones that are the short ones, so that means this one here is the long one, so that's the working cord. So that means we need to bring that underneath the middle one and make our first knot. So you can see it's the exact same, but it's just kind of working in the opposite direction, but we swap from side to side anyway. And make your double half hitch here. Make sure the row comes straight down, like that, and then bring it underneath the outer holding cord, make a double half hitch again, building up that second row right next to the first one. Now change direction. Just get these ones out of the way. So we just bring it back underneath the same holding cord to change the direction, and then do a double half hitch, but with opposite hands. And then continue the row straight down here, and then bring it underneath the next holding cord, the first one rather. Make a double half hitch by starting out the same way, but now instead of making the other half the same direction, we need to swap direction within the knot. So I'm bringing it underneath straight away, and then making the other half in the opposite direction, and then tightening that again so we get that little curve into it, this row. Then bring it underneath the other holding cord, and then do a double half hitch again, the full one. Tighten that. So then you can see these rows are going to gradually be pointing a little bit more towards each other now, rather than just going straight down all the way. So they're naturally now wanting to come towards each other like that. So I'm just going to let them do that, and by also then connecting them together, because we want to connect the rows at different points throughout, also to achieve that braiding effect. So what we're going to use when we do that connecting rows together is actually use the holding cords for that. So they are going to be used to make knots, but just not as many as the longer ones. So what we need to do is use one cord at a time. So I'm going to take, out of the two on my right side here, I'm going to take the one furthest towards the left. That's the first one that's crossing over naturally, and then I'm going to just take the one that's closest to on the left group there, in the left group, so basically the two inner ones, and then the one from the left is crossing underneath, so that's the first working cord. So I'll bring that around my finger and through the loop, and then as I tighten this, I'm going to tighten that all the way up. It's going to now continue the row from the right side further out this way. So we're connecting them, but the way we're connecting these is to make it look like the group from the right side is crossing over the middle strand, you could say, in the principle of it being a braid. So that's the first one. Then I take the next holding cord from this left group, and then also make a double half hitch with that, again continuing the same row. There we go. And then just put the holding cord that you just used out to the side. But then we also need to bring the other row with us from that right group. So we take the other holding cord from there and cross that over in the same way. So we're just kind of doing one row at a time. And then we take the very first holding cord from the other one. The holding cord from the right side now is going to become still the holding cord here, but then the ones that were the holding cords and now turning into the working cords on this side, we're just basically repeating what we just did. So make a double half hitch around the holding cord, continuing this row, and the same with the second one. So sometimes these cords, the short ones that are the holding cords through the main part, are going to switch jobs every now and then when we have these connection points, and that's now fully connected. So we've used these groups to start out our rows and also make a very first connection point. So then before I move on with any of these groups here that we just used, I'm just going to put them out to the side because I want to make sure I bring the other one with us as well. So I'm going to take the three furthest left cords, so the group that we haven't used yet, and then here what we have is the two outer cords are the short ones, and then this inner one is the long one. So that's going to be again the main working cord. So I'm going to start on the exact same principle. So I'm going to take that working cord underneath the first holding cord, so that's the middle one, and then make my double half hitch all the way and tighten that all the way up there. Once more for a double, and have it come straight down just like the other ones, and then take it underneath the next cord and another double half hitch. So we're getting these two rows started out right next to each other. Now to change direction, I'm going to then again bring it underneath the same holding cord and then make a double half hitch, but in the opposite direction. Tighten that. And once more here to make it the double. Then bring it underneath the first holding card again to continue the row. Tighten that again upwards, so we're having the cords and the rows of knots here coming straight down. And then to change direction again here, we then bring it back underneath the same holding cord as we're building the row and make a double half hitch. Still coming straight out. And then underneath the next holding cord. So get to the outer edge. And then change direction again, so back the other way. Back underneath that same holding cord that we just used. So going back towards the first one, bring it underneath. And now this is where I want to just make 1/2 and then change direction straight away to come back the opposite way. So we're basically getting that little curve or bend into it. Back to the other holding cord, back underneath it, make your double half hitch. And like that. And then back underneath again. Because we just need to basically grow this row long enough so it will fit with the next step and what's also going to then end up being the next connection point. Back to the next one. So you can just slowly see there we have that little curve in it. And now we need to change direction again because we need this working cord to be coming outward, away from the piece once we're done with this row. Like that, under the last one here. And then tighten that last double half hitch. And then we have this row in place and ready. And up here is where we're going to have the next connection point then. But before we can make that, we need to bring the other row towards it. So just putting these cords out of the way for now. And it's the group that's naturally wanting to come towards that group over here that we're going to be working on now. So basically the middle one. And what we need to do is just continue this group or these rows underneath each other that was coming all the way over from the right side. And look like they're crossing over right there on that connection point. So the top one here, the furthest left one rather, the long one, bring that underneath the first holding cord, then make your double half hitch. To continue these rows, you can see we're going to tighten that knot right after the last ones were made. On that connection point, bring it underneath the next holding cord. To continue them, and then we're going to be working our way outward. Just getting a little knot there. Towards the other group that we just worked on. To be able to connect them together. Now change direction by bringing your working cord back underneath your holding cord, making another double half hitch, and now make sure when you tighten this that you hold that holding cord in the right direction, because that determines the direction that the row is going to go in. Bring it underneath the next one. Tighten that. And then again, change direction. Bring it back underneath the same one. Make your double half hitch. So this now is just a straight row that we're making. And underneath the next holding cord again. Because from that connection point to the one we want to get to, sorry, it is just a straight line pretty much. Obviously it's at an angle, but we don't need to put a curve into this. So now I've extended that, and you can see those two now meet up just perfectly to create this next connection point. And once more, we're going to use the holding cords on both groups for that. So what we just need to pay attention to then is where we cross over and under. So the previous place, the connection point there, the right one is coming over, so that means on this connection point I want it to come underneath. So that means I want the furthest left group to come over. That means that's the one I need to use as the holding cord. So I take the very first one, the two middle ones there to begin with, one from each group that are right next to each other. That comes over, and the one going underneath is the working cord. Make a double half hitch as we connect that as right in that little corner. And the other half to make it a double. Take the other working cord, that was the previous holding cord from the right, like this here. That's the first row of the connection point. Now take the other holding cord from this left group, bring that over, and then just repeat with the same two working cords. So this again builds right underneath the one we just did and continues this group on the left. Just making these double half hitches. Just like that. So now we have that connection point in place as well. And we have our groups ready again. We have 3 cords going out to the left, 3 in this middle group, and then we also have these 3 in the furthest right group. So then as the next step here, we need to get to the next connection point. So we had the first one on the right side of the piece, then we just had the one on the left here. Now we need to go back to the right to get that braided effect. So to do that, first of all, I'm going to go to the middle group here. We're basically going to do this little section, the straight one that we just did to get to that previous connection point. Do that again, but in the opposite way, opposite direction. So to do that, when you separate them out, we have the 2 holding cords and then the long working cord. And then we just continue the rows by bringing the working cord underneath and making our double half hitches again. Bring it underneath the next one. So we're continuing that row, or the 2 rows rather, from the connection point to get to the next one. Again, this is just a straight line, so no need to worry about putting in that curve. That's really only on the sides that we do that. In the middle here, between the connection points, is just a straight line from one to the other. Going towards the opposite side again, change direction, and then change direction again. So this isn't going to be the 3rd time, the 3rd knot rather. First one, move on to the next one. Make a double half hitch. So we then make sure that the working cord is coming out towards the left when we're now at this point here. But then before we're able to actually make the connection point, we need to bring this right group up along to be able to connect with it. And this is also where if you want to add beads to this, we want to add them in. So I'm going to add them here on the outer edge, basically between or right next to the connection points on the side. So I'm adding my little tiny bead on the very outer cord, which is then the working cord, so the long one. Add that and let that drop all the way down. So that's the only different thing you gotta do to add the beads, is really add them onto that cord right next to that connection point. Otherwise it's the exact same thing. So I just take that working cord, start making my double half hitch around the holding cord by bringing it under first. You can see this is going to sit right there in that little corner, and just add a little bit of something different to it, a bit of colour, obviously depending what kind of bead you use. And then do a double half hitch on the next holding cord, just like that. And then we change direction, so bring it underneath the same holding cord, make your double half hitch, tighten that, make sure to hold that holding cord in the direction that we want the row to go. Underneath the next holding cord. We're continuing them for now. But then obviously, because this is on the side, we do need to put in that curve. To basically, instead of having it go out further and out towards the side, we need it to come back in to be able to reach that connection point. But then change the direction again. Just like this. Underneath the next holding cord. and this is then we want to add in that curve. So that means I do the first half of the double half hitch, tighten that, and then I change direction straight away instead of finishing the knot, and then tighten that there, go underneath the next holding cord, making that double half hitch. So now you can see it's coming more straight down, and then we change direction again underneath the next holding cord. So it's still not quite the right curve yet because it's coming straight down rather than out to the side, but we actually need to come in towards this. So I made the first half of that double half hitch now, and again here we then add in the curve. So I change direction within the knot, just like that, and then move on to the next holding cord. And now basically what we're going to do is repeat the beginning part of it, like that. So change direction again. Now we're just going to make a straight line for the rest of it, because it's basically now about filling in the gap between the two groups to actually reach it. Underneath the next holding cord here, make a double half hitch, change direction one last time, make your last double half hitch under the last holding cord here. So again, we also make sure that this working cord is coming outwards away from the piece, out on the side or the edge. And now you can see that these two groups meet up just perfectly, and we can now make that connection point there as well. So just to show you that again, and also just to show to pay attention to how the different groups are coming over and under each other, we can see here this right group, the last connection point is coming underneath, so that means on this one we want that to come over, and that also fits with the previous connection point on the other group that goes over, so this we want to come underneath. So that means the one that we want to come over is the one we're going to use as the holding cord. So I'm taking the right one here, the first one, bring that over the other ones, and then we make a double half hitch, first of all to connect it right in that corner, just like that. Take the other one, make your double half hitch, and then of course we just want to use the other holding cord as well from that right group. So bring that over now so we can make knots to continue that row underneath the other one. Make a double half hitch here, and with the last one, so we complete this connection point then. And there we go. And now we again have our individual groups with 3 cords in, separated out nicely. So the next step now is to get from this connection point to the next one on the left side. So we'll basically keep repeating now, but I'm just going to show you again, because obviously everything we're going to do now we've just done here, but it's mirrored, so it can be a little bit confusing. So first of all, we need to make that straight line in the middle. So that means I take that middle cord, let's get them back on here, fasten it down. That's the working cord first of all. We need to bring the furthest left one underneath the first holding cord to continue the rows that we just crossed over on that connection point. Make another double half hitch here, and the next holding cord, and this is where we just repeat the other ones that we've done in the middle. So we want to change direction the same amount of time, so I'm changing direction now, making sure to hold the holding cord in that straight line that I want the row to go. And the next one here, make your double half hitch, and then change direction again. to then come back this way. So that's kind of the third knot, you could say, that we've done within this straight line. Last double half hitch, because then we made this middle straight line of 2 rows that we then need. This point is going to be the next connection point. We then need to bring these ones down just like we did on this side here. But before we start making any knots here, we just want to make sure to remember to add in that bead if we want to add them. So that's on the outer cord, the longest one that's going to be the working cord. Make it drop all the way down into that little corner, and then bring it underneath the first holding cord and just pick up the knots to make these rows then. So first of all, double half hitch, bring it underneath the next holding cord, and then a double half hitch with that. And then we change direction. So under the same holding cord, double half hitch here, making sure you hold the holding cord in this same direction that we want the row to go, underneath the next one. To the outer one now. Make your double half hitch. Then change direction again under the same one to come back in towards the piece again. Double half hitch. Go underneath the next holding cord, and now this is where we want to add in that curve, just like we did on the other side. So make the first half of the double half hitch, and then change direction within this knot. So straight away bring it underneath, tighten that, and then go underneath the next holding cord. And then we're going to see that we're going to start coming straight down now instead of out to the side. Change direction in towards the piece again, make a double half hitch. So we're constantly swapping hands here as well with what job they do, whether they're holding the cord or whether they're making the knot. And now onto the next one, and straight away again we need to change direction. So within the knot we're adding that curve in. So instead of coming straight down, we need to come in towards that connection point. Go underneath the next holding cord. Make your double half hitch. And then you can see now the direction is in the right way. It's coming in towards the end of that row down here. So change direction because we just need to fill in that space, because the rows don't quite reach yet. Make a double half hitch in the other direction. Underneath the next holding cord. We're almost there. Make a double half hitch. Change direction one last time. Again as well, so this working cord comes out to the edge and away from the piece, because that's then where we add in those beads. Double half hitch, and the last double half hitch underneath the next holding cord. Tighten that, and there we go. So this group out here with these 2 rows, it's curving, going away and then coming back in, and now it's going to meet up perfectly with this other group over here with these rows. You can see they fit perfectly together. And now again, just pay attention to what you need to cross over and under. In this case, the right group crossed over the last time, so that needs to go under now, and the left one crossed under, so that needs to go over. So that means I need to take the holding cord from the left group that I want to go over the other ones here to be the holding cord, and then you just make your connection point again. So basically now we're just going to keep repeating this over and over until you reach the length that you want. Now that I then reached the other end here, then obviously we have to finish it off. So what we need to do is, instead of just continuing the pattern, we need to get this straight edge again. So basically we need to finish it the same way that we started it. So what I'm going to do is just start with this middle group, and I'm going to take the working cord and then start out making my double half hitches again. So bring it underneath the first holding cord. So just as if we were going to continue making the pattern, now we're just going to stop before fully making the next little section to obviously be able to achieve that straight line underneath the next one. Make one half of it, and then I'm going to change direction straight away within the knot, just like that here, and then do another one under the next holding cord. So working our way downwards here, and then change direction, a double half hitch, and then underneath the last one, and do another double half hitch here. So just like that. So that's basically the middle group done. And now onto the right group here. So that's basically going to be the exact same thing as there, but just remember as well, if you're adding the beads, I'm going to take the working cord and I just want to add a bead before I then actually start making my knots. So add that onto the working cord and let that drop all the way down into that little corner. And then otherwise we're going to start doing the same thing. So bring the working cord underneath the first holding cord, make your double half hitch. Again, as if we were continuing the pattern, go underneath the next one. Let's take the other ones up to the side here. So make the first half and then change direction straight away. You can see that's exactly what we did in the previous group. And then go underneath the next one and make a full double half hitch. And change direction again. Another double half hitch here. And then the final one underneath the next holding cord. And tighten that. And you can see we've ended up pretty much the exact same way as the other one. It's just mirrored from each other. So the two working cords are now kind of wanting to come in towards each other. And then we need to bring the final group with us as well. So I'm just going to take the other ones, put them out to the side to get them out of the way. And then we have this one over here. And that's a bit of a further distance to cover. So again, remember, because we have that corner, I just want to add my bead onto the working cord and let it drop all the way down before I start making the knots, just so we continue the pattern. And then I'm going to start making my double half hitch first of all, under the first holding cord, and then go to the next one, another double half hitch, change direction under the same cord. So now just going back and forth, go to the next holding cord, change direction again. We're now reaching the point we want to get a curve into it as well. So under the next holding cord, then do the first half, change direction straight away within the knot, tighten that, go underneath the next one, make a full double half hitch. So now it's starting to come straight down instead, which is what we want and what we achieved putting that little curve in there. And now we basically just want to come straight down, so change direction again until the point where it meets up at the same level as the other groups over here. Under the next holding cord, make a double half hitch, change direction. We still have a few knots to do to reach that same level. Under the next holding cord, double half hitch, then change direction, and under the same holding cord again. And then under the last one, and then make the very last double half hitch, because then it has that same level and we're going to be able to achieve that straight line underneath all these groups now. And to then achieve that straight line, what I'm going to do is just start from one side. It doesn't matter what side you start from, because we'll be going back and forth making our rows, because what we want to do basically is achieve these straight lines across the same amount as the other end, so we can finish it off equally. So I'll bring the furthest left one, if you start on the right, bring the furthest right one towards the left, over all the others that are then going to be coming straight down here. And then I take the very first one that's coming underneath, make a double half hitch, and then tighten that while I'm holding the holding cord straight out to the side. Like that. Grab the very next cord, which is then the working cord that we just used before in this group. Tighten that, making the double half hitch. And now we reach the point where, obviously this loose group, we then need to connect. That's why we're making these rows. Just separate out the cords here. Go on to the next group and take the very first cord from that you run into, and then just use that as your next working cord. And that then connects them together. And then also choose that straight line underneath them all, like that. And what you just want to do then is continue all the way to the end, doing the same thing, using one cord at a time. And then I want to change direction, come back, and then change direction again. Just because I have 3 rows in the beginning, so I'm also going to have 3 rows here. So now that I've finished it here, this is then what it looks like. So you can see we get that really nice braided effect, but using the macrame, and then also those beads just add a nice little touch to them. So what we need to do now is finish off the ends. So I'm just going to show you that here because it's the same on both ends. So because I'm using a synthetic cord, I can use a lighter to singe them down. So what I'm going to do first of all is cut off the excess using a pair of scissors. So I have about 1 or 2 millimeters sticking out from where the cord's coming out from. So just cut off the excess, like that. And then just to kind of seal this in place and get rid of those little ends that are left, I'm going to be using my lighter here. And obviously this is a naked flame and it does get hot, so do be careful of doing it. But then I'm just going to use that to kind of singe them down, and it seals it nicely so we don't have to worry about the knots coming undone. And then just kind of squeezing it in place. Same with that end one. And it's not too crucial how this looks because we're going to obviously now then take our ribbon ends and add onto the very end there. So give it a nice finish so we can then attach our clasp. And then just to add a bit of extra security, I'm just going to be using a glue here. It dries clear so it's not going to show if anything spills out, but also it's a very strong glue. So just going to take a little bit onto a toothpick. Doesn't need to be too much because it's literally just a little bit of extra security. And then I'm going to take my ribbon end and then put the glue inside of it, up and down the sides there. Make sure you coat it all. And then I like to just take the excess and put it onto the end of my piece, just so that when we bond the two pieces together, it's going to really adhere nicely. So there we go, just get rid of the excess onto that. And then, to attach the ribbon end, I'm then going to put it over on the end, then take a pair of flat nose pliers, and then we need to start clamping this down. So I like to hold the piece in my hand and put a finger on each end, make sure it stays in place. And then start clamping it down, but I like to do it gently a bit at a time, because you can risk that it kind of slips while you're clamping it down, so it's going to end up in the wrong place. So to avoid that, I like to do it a little bit at a time, and then when I feel like I'm really close to being all the way clamped down, I just double check it, and if I'm still happy with it, it's centered, then I'm going to go all the way and make sure it's nice and tight. So basically it clamps down onto it and grabs onto the actual cord, but obviously the glue is in there as well to just give it that big extra security. And I always just clamp down the ends because they tend to stay a bit open if we don't do that. So there we go. And then we can just use that loop in it to attach our findings. And obviously you want to finish off the other end in the exact same way. So now that I've finished off both ends, this is then what it looks like. So you can see I have my extended chain on one end and then the clasp on the other. And you get this really nice effect. So you can then just use a clasp to wear it nice and securely. and then it's going to look a little something like this. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial here to make this bracelet, and thank you very much for watching.